Good afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on January 24th, 2024, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Janet Williams and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Channel 8 and is being recorded for the on-demand archives available on the town's website. It's being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review have all been posted on the town's website. So to all participants, if you are attending by phone or online, please remain muted until you've been recognized by the chair. If you are on the phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. And if you are online and you're not a commissioner, please keep your camera turned off unless you've been recognized. You can indicate that you wish to speak by using the raised hand feature. And when recognized, please remember to identify yourself for the record. So that we have a record of a quorum attending today, I will now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Karen Latin.
Present.
She is here. Bob Rawls.
Here.
Bob Delvecchio is not here today. Mary Sullivan.
Present.
Elise Gordon.
Present.
Cheryl Maservi.
Present.
And I am here. We have established that we have a quorum. My internet has dropped. At this point, I'll ask Chatham's Conservation Agent, Paul Whiteman, to let us know if there are any matters scheduled for today that have been continued.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. We have two continuances. The first is 127 Christopher Harding Lane, Rolf Nixon, map 12D, parcel 3L6, SE10 3661. They requested a continuance to February 28th, I believe.
Okay, any others?
Yes, the Chatham Municipal Airport application. The address is 240 and 438 George Ryder Road and 652 Main Street. Map 9F240, 10G 438. The EP number is SE10 1652. Parcels 2, 18, 53, and an additional SE number 3658. This project has been requested to be continued by the applicant to February 7th.
All right, thank you, Paul. So if anyone is here or online for 127 Christopher Harding Lane or the airport application, neither of those will be heard today. You have heard the continuation date. So with that, Paul, I'll ask you to lead us through the agenda for today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First on the agenda today is a request for an emergency certification under the Wetlands Protection Act and under the Chatham Wetland Bylaw and Regulations as amended. The address is 97 Tilipy Run. The owner TR97 Nominee Trust, map 14A3, parcel 2-B. There's no SE number as this is a request for an emergency to make repairs to a failed revetment.
All right, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Representatives for 97 Tilipy Run on the platform. Catherine? I know. We did change the order of the agenda a couple days ago because it is an emergency application. And I think that was changed on the public agenda as well. The only one it wasn't. It is, yeah.
It is, Madam Chair. It's first on the agenda.
But I don't see them here.
Let me try to reach Catherine, and I believe Ted's in the audience, but let me see what I can do to rectify this. I'm going to mute.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Attorney Mike Ford.
There you go.
I'm not part of the presentation today, but I'm here as a reference. I will try and reach out to Catherine right now as well and remind her that it's first on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to take things too much out of order.
Would you like to go, Madam Chair, to 40 Gammys Lane?
Yeah, let's
first,
do that, because that's just an internal, there's no reps for that. Okay.
Okay. So this is a request for an amendment to an order of conditions. The address is 40 Gamies Lane. The Glenview Trust Company is the owner, map 15B, parcel 7-4A, DEP number SE103567. The project is proposed addition and associated site improvements. The amendment includes landscape changes, and that is the application.
All right, thank you. Hang on a second, my computer's going crazy. All right, so this amended order of conditions was posted in the Dropbox for commission members to take a look at and review. There have been some comments. I will accept the changes that have been proposed because they all look fine to me unless anybody has a problem with any of them. And is there anybody who hasn't weighed in on that, Mary, Cheryl, or Karen, who have comments or changes or questions about the Gamies Lane order?
This is Karen, and I do not have any additional changes.
Thank you. You're good? Mary, are you okay with this?
This is Mary, and I do not have any additional changes either.
All right. Well, that was quick and easy. So I'll go ahead and it's the only changes that were made for anybody who's watching, who's tracking this, are just some typos and some minor changes. It's a very straightforward amended order of conditions. So I will ask for a motion to close the hearing and approve the amended order.
I move that we close the hearing and approve the amended order for 40 Gamies Lane.
Second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That is approved. Well, Paul, that didn't buy us a whole lot of extra time.
No.
I think we can move on to, we can also do, I see that the people for 68 Judges Way are also here. So we can take that out of order if that works while we're assembling the group for Talippi Run.
Okay, so that would be 68 Judges Way, Andrew and Carolyn Beaumont, map 11B, parcel 1A-R5, DEP number SE103640. The project is a proposed swimming pool. The amendment includes increasing the retaining wall in length and an increased patio footprint. This is a phase 2 request for an amendment. We did receive an amended plan that contained the information that the commission was looking on it on one plan, resource areas and the project, and a lighting document which the commission can review with regard to the request we made for information and specs on lighting around the pool.
Okay, thank you. Hello.
How we doing?
Good.
Dylan Hoyt on behalf of the Beaumonts, representative from Shoreline Pools. So, yeah, we are continuing from the last meeting. Made revisions to the plan presented. The engineers placed the revisions to the retaining wall, mitigation planting area, as well as the landscape lighting on the site plan that had the wetland delineations and buffer areas.
All right, thank you. I'll open up to, I'm recused from this one because I'm in a butter, so I'll open it up to other commission members with any questions or comments on the revised plans that have been submitted.
I have a few. In no particular order. Okay, well, first thing that I would like to get cleared up is that the original application that was submitted in the summer, the original NOI, had coverage calculations which are the same as in that I see in the coverage table that's inserted into the current site plan, even though you have added, you're asking for additional patio, so obviously there's additional coverage.
Are you referencing mitigation coverage
I'm
calculations?
referencing coverage and mitigation, but mostly coverage because the coverage should have increased. which means theoretically that your mitigation should have increased.
Yeah, which both did on the plan. I'm not sure if he just missed it on the calculation table when he made those adjustments.
Well, we'll need to get that straightened out, obviously, to figure out whether or not you've got the right amount of mitigation.
Okay. Both the extended patio area as well as mitigation both increased by the same amount.
280 or something?
Correct. Yep.
All right, well, anyway, we'll need to get the table. You should really revise the official coverage table that you had in the original application. And then if you want to have it on your site plan, that's fine too, but where we look is in the official coverage table that we have in our template that you then fill out. The next question I have is, in your site plan, you've got red dotted areas for mitigation area and red dotted areas for your increased pool, increased patio. I mean, it's the same, essentially the same stuff, depicting both. It's a little confusing, but I think I understand it, but it would be better, if you're going to be revising anything, to have those depicted differently. They're both red, and they're both little dots.
Okay. I see that as more trivial, as they're both noted.
Sometimes
but-
little trivial things can make a difference.
Okay.
The next thing I want to talk about is that in your mitigation, you're adding 3 high bush blueberry plants. And then I presume that the rest of the mitigation area is this conservation mix?
Yes.
I looked back at the original application, and I don't remember, maybe you can point out if you did, and I'm just not seeing it, what that conservation restoration mix is, what it consists of. Since that's going to be the majority of your increased mitigation, seems like we should know what it is.
I'm not sure what the particulars were. That was covered by the engineer in the original NOI. It would just end up being the scope of what was approved in the initial order of conditions would just expand an additional 280 square feet coverage area.
Yeah, I'm sure that was the thought process. I'm interested now, since that conservation mix represents the majority of your increased mitigation, in knowing, if we haven't been told already, what it consists of. It could be something that we like, it could be something that maybe we have questions about.
Yeah, I believe it's in the
Is it?
NOI already.
Wildflowers, okay. Why only 3 blueberry bushes?
I'm not sure. That's what the engineer determined would be
The engin-
sufficient.
Okay, engineer. All right, well, see, yeah, I'm interested in knowing whether there's room for more. It's 280 square feet, 3 plants and then some seeds. Anyway,
How many do you want?
how many do I want? As many as it can be fit in there. It looks like maybe there is some overstory there eventually. So whatever makes sense, but 3 seems kind of sparse.
Okay. I mean, if you have a suggestion for how many you'd like
As
as a condition
I don't
of
think that's the
approval.
question. The question is how many will fit?
Based on maturity, right?
Right, based on the eventual habitat there, is there room, and maybe there isn't, to put more. But when I look at the plan, I see 3 bushes and some wildflowers, I guess, which I now know are wildflowers. It seems like there could be more. And that's all I have.
All right, thanks, Matt. Elise?
I think the lighting is good.
I think it clearly shows that it's downlighting and the timing that you included, that it wouldn't be on between 11 and 6, I believe. Is that the time?
Yes.
That's the right way to go. So I have nothing else to add to what Bob has already talked about other than that.
Thank you.
Cheryl?
And I'll just mention, Bob, for the plan that's actually on the agenda today, that upper part is striped red. So I don't know if you have another plan that has dots one place and stripes the other, but online it is a striped one.
Yeah, I know.
I know, I just showed it to Janet. Mine's different than hers.
Stripes.
No, I'm not in Dropbox. I'm actually on
My Town Go.
My Town.
The one
yeah.
that's posted on My Town.
So the one that's posted online is striped. So just as an aside, I don't know if you have one that is already striped. That's what we're looking for, is that other part to be striped instead of dots. Somewhere
And-
somewhere that exists.
Mostly it has to be on the printed copy, because someday when the person goes out for a certificate of compliance, they take the printed copy with them, so that's the one that's the
Well, one day, maybe the
Legislative.
person goes out will only have an online version.
well, wouldn't that be something? Yeah, well, I'm not holding my breath. Anybody online on the platform have any questions, comments? Paul, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to pick up on Commissioner Rawls' comment. I can work with Dylan. I think everyone understands that the engineer dropped out and the pool company picked this up. But I can work with him on additional plantings to see how many we can fit in there, and then anything else that you're looking for in terms of the landscape plan. And I thought that the lighting was really good, and is what we're looking for the protection of wildlife, insects, and so I'll work with him, Bob, if you'd like me to do that, if you want to close this out, and I can, subject to adding those plants in.
Right, do we need to have those plants depicted in a revised plan?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So I think what we can do is schedule this for an order of conditions for February 7th, which would mean that you'd have to have the revised plan submitted by the Friday before, which I guess is February 2nd-ish. Yeah, 2nd. So if you can get that in, we'll have time to review it. We can ask any questions at the final hearing before voting on the order of conditions, but we can wrap that up into a single hearing.
Okay.
Does that work for everyone? All right, then, we take a motion to continue this to February 7th for final review and an order of conditions.
I move that we continue 68 Judges Way to February 2nd, 2024.
7th.
I'm sorry, 7th.
Hold on, before you go.
I just want to make sure we also get the coverage.
The coverage table, double check that both the digital version and the paper version differentiate between mitigation and expanded patio, and a final number on the number of blueberry bushes that can be put into the mitigation. Those are the three things I have.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I move we approve a continuation for an order of conditions on February 7th, 2024,
Second.
on 68 Judges Way.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Bob? Elise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye, too. We'll see you back
Thank you.
here February 7th for the order. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, Catherine,
Oh.
this is now.
Crystal, I misspoke. I should not have said aye. I am abstained from this, so can you correct that record, please? Force of habit.
Got it.
Thank you. All right, Catherine is here. So I guess, Paul, you already read it. Do we need to do
I already
anything
read
else?
the,
Yeah,
I
so
read
we're
the
ready to go.
announcement already. Yep, ready to go.
Okay. All right, Catherine, the floor is yours.
Okay, Catherine Ricks with Ty and Bond. Can I share my screen?
Yes, let me stop sharing and,
Okay.
all right, you had the screen.
Okay, let me see. That down there. Oh, let's see if it'll move back. Okay, so the emergency shoreline protection at 97 Tillipy Run on Morris Island. This is actually an aerial I received today from Ted. This is the one that was taken on the 22nd. So very recent picture of what the shoreline is looking like out there. And we are proposing to put in a steel sheet pile bulkhead along the shoreline with the return on the southern side. And this is the typical cross section, which has the steel sheet pile bulkhead down to a -42 with toe stones in front. And we're gonna have to put in some fill behind that with a weak drain system behind it as well. This will transition into the articulated block that's on 75 Tillipy Run. And once this emergency part is complete, which was discussed previously, we would do the full NOI will include additional aspects of more of a return solution on the southern side and more of the mitigation. But for right now, it's the steel sheet pile bulkhead, the toe stones in front, and the fill behind it. The toe stones are there for stability of the wall against the forces on the landward side of the wall. Here are some pictures from the 3rd when we did our most recent hydrographic survey, which shows a drop off of about 40 feet, pretty close to the shoreline. And when you're out there, as most of you have been out there recently, you can't even see the stones that were in the previous rock revetment. So it does drop off pretty quickly. These are pictures from our trip when we went out there on the 4th. And then this is the aerial, one of the aerials that I received today from the 22nd. You can see it's still, this kind of shows you what's occurring is not so much from waves, but it's from the pinching of the barrier island in towards the shoreline. So the flow is going pretty quickly through that area, which is scouring along the bank and moving the navigation channel in towards the island. So if there's any questions.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me just ask you, can you pull up the plan that shows what is proposed to be authorized by the emergency certification? That shows
Yes.
the location of the bulkhead, the tiebacks, the stones. Yep, that's it.
Here's the plan. Yep.
Okay, so for the emergency portion of this, and I understand that you'll be coming back for a broader notice of intent, we'll talk about that in a second. Will this, until the neighboring, the adjacent properties are able to be incorporated into the design, how will the design meet those two, both on the northern and the southern ends?
So the southern end, this is actually just what's existing here. There's no additional projects this way. There is some coastal beach over here, and this is just ending on his property. So we'll be ending here, but we plan to come back with more of a soft solution to gently go into the bank and the beach on this side. And there's wildlife.
Sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yep.
But
There's
if
the
without the
wildlife
stones in
owns
front,
everything.
is it just going to be a bulkhead? What happens, what's in front of it, fronting onto that little beach area?
So that is more where I want to look when we go to the full NOI into a soft solution in this full area, because this does have some coastal beach there, and it's not getting the scour and the navigation channel flow that the front side is. So we're going to look into other alternate, maybe soft solutions in this area. But at this time, and this wall is less, so at this time, we have the wall over here and the stone only on this side just to balance out the forces on the steel sheet pile wall to help with the stability.
So because that section does not experience the same kind of wave action that the other does, having the vertical bulkhead exposed won't cause refraction or reflection of wave energy at that point?
And it doesn't have the waves or the scour that's coming through. So this is more some reflection from this side, but it's not as much as, which is why you haven't seen the loss of the current stones that are in front of it.
So the
So that's
existing,
something that's not, oh, sorry.
sorry, I'm sorry, we're both, you go ahead, you go.
So it's not something that is in the emergency phase of it, but it will be dealt with when we come to the follow-up NOI.
Okay, so the existing stones will remain in place at the
For
for the
now,
moment?
we
And what
can-
about,
yes.
what about the existing, does that include also the geotextile sandbags that are there?
I would believe those will be some of that debris that will be cleaned up when we clean up the debris and the trees in the front section.
Okay, that's what I was,
Because the
that's where I,
sandbags that can be moved very easily by the water, and we don't want them to become debris in the water.
that's where I was going. So there's a lot of
Yep.
extraneous plastic pieces and sandbags, and as well as all the dead vegetation that's around there. So all of that gets cleaned up as part of the first part, as part of the first,
Correct.
the emergency
Part
part.
of, yeah,
Okay,
correct.
got that. Can you go to the drawing that shows the placement of the stones and the support that they sit on? And zoom in a little bit. There's a little bit of a difference between A and B, those different, yeah.
So there's more where this section is.
Yep.
And this was from the survey that was on the 3rd. There's more area flat in this section, so that's why we're able to put the stones like that. And then due to how it's curving, they dropped this because we're trying to have this support underneath.
What is supporting
And hoping-
that? What's?
This is the geotextile with bedding stone.
Okay.
That's underneath the
What's
larger
supporting that?
At the time of the survey, what we can base our design on the 3rd, this was existing. Whether it's existing when we go out there, we're not sure. This might have to get smaller and maybe have a rock up higher, depending on what's existing when we go out to get the work done, when the contractor's finally on site.
So you're assuming that based on the last survey, that the slope underwater at the bottom of the water there won't have reduced to something much more vertical and impossible to sit a support structure on?
It's likely some of it's changed, but we're basing our design right now on what was there.
Yeah.
And then we may have to get out there and adjust this so that some of the rocks might have to be up here more and not so much in the front here.
Okay. Is there any way, last question, and then I'm going to let other people ask in. Is there any way to estimate the vegetation that needs to be removed in order to install the bulkhead? The mass or?
At this time, the only vegetation that would be removed has already fallen over because we're trying to align this so that the bulkhead will go under the articulated block on 75, and this rock will be in line with what the revetment is on 75. So at this point, and if you see if I can pull up those pictures again, we had. At this point, the wall is going to go, along here. Most of these trees have all fallen over. So it would be this vegetation here that would be removed. And then there's some fill that will go behind the wall.
Okay. When do you expect you will be in a position to file for the NOI for the longer-term plan? I know it's a ballpark. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm hoping
Yeah.
within the 30 days. I would hope within the 30 days because we have that.
Okay.
I believe it has to be 30 days after
21.
21? Okay, so
Yep.
we're hoping that. I mean, at this point, we have the majority of the plan here with the emergency. It'll be adding the soft solutions towards the southern side and probably a little more detail on the backside and then mitigation.
Okay, we'll mark our calendars. Let me open it up to questions from other commissioners. Start over here. Cheryl?
I don't have anything.
Okey-doke. Bob?
Catherine, I'm going to ask what probably is a dumb question, but just to be thorough, the revetment that was there was a licensed revetment, correct?
So previously, none of these revetments were licensed because there was beach out in front. So it wasn't below mean high water. It was authorized and it did have a permit. These were built in 1998. All 4 of them were built together. So they were, but now we are going back having to get licenses for all of this. And this will have to go as well to DEP Waterways for a license. But previously there was beach, so it didn't have to be licensed.
I'm not sure I understand that.
Permitted, but didn't need a Chapter 91 license.
Chapter 91, okay. 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 So is this bulkhead, how does it relate to the position of the revetment that was there?
So the revetment that was there is, you can see some of it remaining in this light hatch here. That's what's existing going from 75 over to here. It was right in this area here. So this is more landward than what was there previously.
Okay. So the revetment next door, I guess that's what, 75 Tillape?
Yep.
That work that we approved to raise it to 20, I think, or something like that, is that started or?
It hasn't started because we have to go through the state licensing because it is below mean high water at the toe, and the federal permitting, again, because it's below high tide line. So it hasn't started yet, but that one on that property goes to, the revetment goes to 16, and then there's that articulated block that goes from 16 up to 17 and then back on the property. So this wall at that point at the line will drop down to about 17 to go under the articulated block so that it goes from there, and then you'll have part of the revetment in front, and then you'll have this wall with the toe stones. So it'll flow from the one to the next.
Okay. And I assume you already have agreement from 75 to
Correct.
merge the two, as it were? Okay. Let's see. Here's another, I have another question. This occurred, this scouring and undercutting occurred at this property, even though it had a revetment similar or essentially identical to the one next door at 75. Why did it happen here and not there?
Because, hold on one second. Oh, right here. So in this location, the barrier island is rolling over and starting to move in towards it. So if you actually look at the darker water, because of all this water has to flow through here at the same elevation. So now you have more water pushing through a smaller area. So your flow increases. So it scours at the bottom, and this navigation channel is a lot deeper right here, which is then undermining the shoreline right along here. And that's why the rocks dropped out there. And it's slowly moving up towards 75. But at this point, due to where this is the pinch point, and there's another location in Chatham that has something pretty similar where the barrier island is rolling over and causing more of a pinching point in the channel flow, which causes that scouring.
So the pinch point is expected to move towards 75?
Actually, it looks like it's moving down.
Down,
So
okay.
it's moving
away
yeah,
from
so
it,
it's
away.
moving more south,
Okay.
away from there. That's what it appears, and I mean, it all depends on what storms come through in the direction of the wind.
Right.
But at this time, it seems to be consistently moving down south as it rolls over on itself and moves in
Okay,
towards the
all
land.
right, all right, that's fine. I had this, I had the same question as Janet was about, I think you've answered the question about where those toe stones are going to go. There may not be any, as much substrate there for you to put them on
Yeah.
when you finally start working, but I guess you'll deal with it at that point in time. I mean, if there's nothing there,
What's the plan?
yeah.
We're hoping not to have to move the wall back too much more because we also don't want to have to vibrate the sheets too close to the house there. So it'll be a give and take in the time of the construction on what we have there, where we can put the wall, if we can put the toe stones, how many toe stones out with the substrate that's there at the time.
Okay. All right, I think that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bob. Elise?
This is such a complicated thing, and I admire what goes into it. Will you be looking at I worried about this property during the storm over the weekend because the beaches just were going crazy. Will you be evaluating that subfloor, if you will, and the stones all the way through to be able to anticipate moving the wall closer to the house? I assume so.
Yes, when it comes closer to when we get the contractor out there, we will see what we have out there at the time. And if
Okay.
we have to do a little bit more survey to update our surveys, we can do that as well.
Okay. Get it done as soon as you can. That's my
That's
thought.
what we're hoping.
That's my thought.
I do have one question. So the one at 75 is actually shorter than this one is going to be.
Slightly shorter, yes.
Is that going to be
And so-
problematic that they're two different, that one's at 16 and the other is, this one's at 20?
So it's a little bit of the so the reason 75 didn't go up to 20 was, the bank there is actually at a lower elevation. So that's why we went back with the articulated block. So with that, when we do the full NOI, we're going to look into what we need to do on this property for that overwash, because that's what is on 75. We're just going to work on that part of it in the full NOI, the overwash, and what we have to do, maybe put those articulated blocks or some other scour apron on the backside of that.
Okay, because we don't want to undermine what you're going to do someplace else, right? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, thanks, Cheryl. Mary or Karen? Either of you have questions for Catherine? Go ahead,
I
Mary.
don't-
I mean, it looks good. The one quick question I have is, what happens if, despite your best efforts, there is further damage when you're putting in any of this, in terms of what if the pool cracks or there's a crack in the foundation? Is there a process for coming back? I mean, do you have to do something different, or?
So with any of that is actually which is something that's going on at 27 Tilapia, is you then after come in and drill down helical anchors or another format to protect the foundation, to jack up the foundation and support that. So that would be separate. This would be done, and then there'll be monitoring on the pool and the deck and the house, and then that would have to be looked at after on how, if there are any cracks, if we would have to put some foundation repairs on there.
Sounds good.
Anything else, Mary?
No, looks
right.
good to me.
Thank you. Karen, do you have any questions for Catherine?
I don't have any at this point. I think you all have covered them, so thank you.
All right, thank you. The questions that have come up today are the obvious ones that start with, well, what if? Because this is an emergency situation. It's also a unique situation. It's fraught with risks, both for doing nothing and for moving ahead with this emergency project. And I think we just have to be mindful of what those risks are, and there's a plan in place for monitoring and being in a position to be able to manage the risks. So following up on Cheryl's question, will there be on-site monitoring as the vibrations are underway so that to check the impact on particularly the pool wall?
Yes, we will be working on that.
So-
Someone within Tie and Bond. Or we
Okay.
will subcontract. It'll either be someone from Tie and Bond, or we will subcontract that out to have that monitored during the installation.
I mean, is it possible, is there a real risk, whether it's likely or not, that pool wall could crack and cause, I don't know, a real problem up to a catastrophe on that bank if the pool collapses?
We've done other walls such as this, including the one at 27 Tilapia, where the distance that we have this currently from there, we aren't expecting large cracks or any failure. There is always a possibility, which is why we will be out there monitoring it. But a catastrophic failure, there's a good distance between it right now. I don't see that happening. We'll definitely have someone there to monitor it. I believe they would have the contractor stop vibrating the sheets in if there was to be a large crack in the foundation at any point.
Okay, so there is a plan in place for dealing with whatever these risks actually, if any of them actually occur during the implementation of this project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I see there are two hands up. Let me go to Mike Ford first, because he had his up first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I represent the owner of 75, and so I just wanted to confirm on the record that we are working very closely with Tie and Bond on this project, and my client is aware of this and fully consents to the implications this is going to have for 75. So I just wanted to get that on the record. The other thing two other things very quickly. One, procedural. If the commission is disposed to grant the emergency order, there's the question of the timing in terms of issuance. And I wondered whether Paul or somebody has thought that through as to maybe voting to issue, but
Yep.
not actually issuing. And so I just wanted to
Yep.
make sure that was being considered, because I can't imagine this getting done, frankly, within the 30-day window, because
Right.
we've got to get the contractor out there.
Given the number of permitting processes they have to go through even for the emergency part,
Right.
the plan is that we will vote to approve the emergency cert, but we will hold it until the rest of the permitting process has gone through, so that it'll be issued at the latest possible moment to give them the most time to get the work done within that window.
Great, thank you.
You had
And
two,
then,
you said. What was the second?
The second one was simply to advise you, if you're not aware, that this will be for the Planning and Regulatory Committee at the Cape Cod Commission tomorrow. They at their meeting, they will be considering this as well.
Yep, that's one of the other permitting processes we're keeping an eye on.
Right.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Paul, you have a hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to, I'm sure you're going to get to this, but Ted is there, and, pursuant to the regulations, both under the State Act and our own bylaw, we've conducted the site visit, we've complied with all the procedures, but I think there should be some testimony on the declaring the emergency, which I think Ted can speak to.
I believe you are right about that, and he is standing up and making his way to the podium.
Thank you.
Ted
Yes.
Keon, Coast Resource Director. I think the pictures are almost self-evident, but I completely concur that this is a situation that does need addressing as soon as possible. We've been watching this area degrade. Focus initially, as we all know, was on the north end at the Fish and Wildlife that we've been watching for a few years. But at the same time, within the last year, I started noticing the scouring having an early effect, if you will, on the revetment at the southern end. I coordinated with Coastal Engineering at the time, now Ty and Bond. They became aware of it. And then, literally within the last 6 months or so, the scouring got so bad that it completely undermined the revetment. And this is the first time in my career that I've, frankly, you don't see the revetment. It's gone. It has fallen into the hole. Normally you see settlement and some stone is still hanging on. I've never seen it where it's literally disappeared. So there are two issues at work here. Obviously the scouring, which undermined the revetment, is what started this. But now that it has removed the armor stone, they are much more vulnerable to wave energy. So even though if the scouring were to stop today, the wave energy would be really the main concern, in a sense, in the short term for continued loss in upland undermining of the structure. So it was my opinion that definitely needs to be addressed under an emergency authorization as soon as possible. To back up to some of the comments that were made, I think, Bob, I agree with Catherine's assessment that the southern end is experiencing the scour because of the position of what is now the remnant of what was South Beach. We have been watching that. Frankly, I've been hoping it were to move further south more quickly. It hasn't done that, but that is the anticipation, that tip that's sitting in the picture right now will continue to degrade, move further to the south, and at least in the near future, lessen some of the forces of scour right at the base of that area. May not bode well for the adjacent property. That's a legitimate concern moving forward. But I don't see the opposite occurring, if you will, where the scouring would move necessarily further up to the north just because the currents are now focused right at that tip. So if you have any other specific questions, I'm happy to opine.
Questions for Ted?
Is the next, you just said that this is going to probably continue to move south. Is the next property the government or is it privately owned?
I believe essentially all of it, within inches or so of the current property, would be Fish and Wildlife property.
Okay, thank you. So they will do nothing, because they did nothing at the other location?
Unfortunately,
assume.
and I didn't actually mention this, in part of the brief memo I provide sort of supporting the emergency, one of the concerns that we have had, and the property owners and their consultants are well aware, is the loss of the large trees. They are and have been already a substantial problem for navigation in and around the adjoining areas of the flats, because they leave this site, they get swept around the corner, and then they get hung up on all the bars and Morse Island Cut. And that's not a good thing. So if this scouring were to continue further south, unfortunately, I expect a lot of those trees in the Fish and Wildlife area to come down as well. And we have we have contacted Fish and Wildlife. They're well aware of the issue. They have no funding to deal with it, in all honesty, which is also not a positive situation.
Anybody else? Thank you, Ted. Appreciate your input here. It's important.
Ted, just.
No, wait, don't, Bob's calling you back.
Just as a follow-up to that, would you think it'd be fruitful to talk with Fish and Wildlife about preemptively cutting trees
They
down?
actually did that on their property.
did.
They removed all their large trees after they had already started to go down.
Right.
So once that was sort of the domino that we were all seeing, they went and removed the trees on their headquarter property. That's why it's denuded right now, because they removed them all. Down in this area, I don't know that they have any plans to do something similar. The access is awkward, to say the least, but I don't know how that's going.
Okay, thank you. Just another distressing aspect of a situation that never seems to stop distressing. This is not our first emergency cert based on our dynamic and ever-changing coastline. It's not going to be our last. That was observed at the on-site, that this is part of what we're looking at as the new normal for our increasingly vulnerable coastline. And I think I can say on behalf of the Conservation Commission, we need to initiate a larger community-wide conversation about the risks that our coastline is facing, and what the community's options are for dealing with them, and assessing those options. What are the pluses and minuses? The topic is enormous. It's vital to this community, and it's not really up to a small group of citizen volunteers to continue to make decisions on a case-by-case, property-by-property basis. That's not a sustainable way of dealing with a problem that is community-wide. So I think the Conservation Commission is calling for the community to do something to at least begin a larger conversation about what we're going to do about this. But for today, all we have in front of us is this request to issue an emergency certification. So we will, the motion will be to approve the emergency. We will sign that today, and as I indicated to Attorney Ford, we will hold it until such time as the rest of the permitting processes have gone forward on this, and issue it when everything is in place and the project is ready to move forward. Motion?
I move that we approve an emergency certification for 97 Tillipy Run.
Second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So that's approved, and we will make an announcement whenever it is ready to be issued. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Paul. Now we can get
All right.
back to business as usual.
Yes, less distressing matters.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda is a field change request for 305 Main Street, Deb and Chris Uden, map 16C, parcel 33, SE10 3569. Project is demo and reconstruct the cottage, partial demo in addition to a dwelling, pool, and patio. The field change request is to repair the damaged drainage pipe.
Good afternoon, David Clark, Clark Engineering on behalf of the Howdens. So what we have is a storm drain that drains the intersection of Main Street and School Street. When we went through the permitting process, nobody knew that that storm drain was there. In researching the deeds, no drainage easement to the town was ever given or taken by the town. So it wasn't discovered until excavation of the cottage when the pipe was damaged. At that time, we just rerouted the pipe around the cottage. And you see that on the plan. Back in late November, early December, after one of those large rainstorms, storm water was coming down through the pipe around the cottage, but hit an obstruction on its way out to the marsh and caused a significant amount of washout. The contractors that were there at the time tried to snake the pipe out. They felt there was an obstruction up inside the pipe, and it was determined that it's most likely collapsed due to construction activity and having an excavator go over it. The excavator that demolished the cottage that was there. So after some more investigation, we met out there with Paul and the DPW director. The pipe needs to be replaced. So we were proposing to install a new ADS plastic pipe, basically from the junction box that we have near the cottage all the way out to where it discharges to the marsh. All the activity, all the excavation is within the area that's currently being restored, so it's disturbed right now, and that's why we came in under this filing, so we can get it done sooner than later, and then have Crawford Land Management finish the restoration plantings for that area. So they've held off a corridor, so we have access for a small piece of equipment to trench the new pipe. We decided to leave the old pipe there rather than, it'd be quicker just to excavate and put in a new pipe. And it's funny, all the years it's been there, up by the cottage, it's vitrified clay. And it changes over somewhere on its way out to the marsh to corrugated steel. And then the last 20 feet is plastic pipe. So it's been worked on quite a bit, and certainly the vitrified clay there, portion of the pipe, has been there for a long time.
With all of that work, it was never put on any plan? It was never?
Well, we at the same time, the contractor discovered the pipe when they were digging the foundation for the cottage. We were preparing a plan for the Board of Health to relocate a portion of the leach field to accommodate the new cottage. And there's an old plan at the Board of Health that shows the pipe. So back in 1990, somebody found the pipe. And after we saw that plan, we went back out in the field. We found the terminus point, and that's when we found out that they had hit the pipe during construction.
So do you know, are you able to tell that it's not broken in another area that?
There's very good flow from the catch basin out in School Street, down the hill to where we've rerouted it. That's all new pipe.
To the point on your plan there where
Yeah.
it says like pipe at about there?
Yep.
Okay.
So we will, basically it'll all be new from where you see the proposed 4-foot diameter manhole. That will be all new pipe, and it is corrugated steel going up the hill to the catch basin out in the street, so that's all good pipe. Okay. So I think, if you remember, a lot of this was invasive species that looked like it hadn't been touched forever, so I think that's the portion where there was the vitrified clay, and it got crushed.
And is the construction activity complete at this point?
We haven't done it yet.
Okay, so is there any possibility of the replacement pipe being damaged by the equipment?
No, we haven't done any, we haven't done any of the work that you see in red.
Right, no,
So-
but the construction on site with the heavy equipment,
Oh, no,
that's done mostly?
Pretty
Yeah.
much, the only equipment that's needed on site now is for Crawford to finish the
Right.
landscaping.
Okay, so there's no more heavy equipment
No,
that could damage
no,
the new
and-
pipe? That's-
And all this new pipe is outside, as you can see, where the finished driveway will be. So there's no auxiliary parking proposed in this area. A lot of it is within the mitigation area. And so it'll be left in natural state in perpetuity. So only, I'd say a third of that would be in the formal yard area of the cottage. The rest will be in the mitigation plantings.
Okay. Questions for David on this? Paul, do you,
I do.
oh, go ahead, you have a question?
Is the pipe needed?
Is the pipe needed? There's
Most
no other
definitely.
way, no other place to dispose of the water.
The water's coming from the street,
Yes,
The catch basin up there.
and the catch basin in the street. It was originally and will be once it's replaced. So streets have runoff.
yep,
Motor vehicle
yep.
emissions, oil and so forth. If you don't need it, from an ecological
Well,
perspective, for any other reason, if you don't need it for a specific reason, it would, in my perspective, be better not to have it.
We would agree, as the property owner would agree with you. But that portion of Main Street, there's no other place for the water to go. So if there wasn't a discharge pipe through this property, it would build up at the low point at the intersection and then come over the bank and sheet flow down the slope behind the cottage.
It would come onto the property anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. But it would be captured by vegetation that is being put there.
Given the storms we've had, I don't know how tenable that the vegetation would be with continuous sheet flow over that bank. Given the steepness of it, the first 15 feet of that bank is almost a 1-to-1 slope, 2-to-1 slope. So it's quite steep. So I can't imagine anything that, other than the English ivy that was there, tolerating that kind of.
Oh, well,
Sheet
let's put the English ivy back in.
It's good for something.
Just joking. What about, we're not supposed to offer suggestions about things like this, but if you were to, for example, have the pipe end within the mitigation area, in other words, after it left the street, went down the bank some and into, let's say, a rain garden type of thing, would that capture enough of the street runoff so that it wouldn't wind up directly into the wetland?
There's a significant watershed to this low point. So basically from the Cranberry Inn is the high point or so heading to the west, flows in this direction. A lot of the water at the intersection of Main Street and Shore Road, that's about the high point, goes in this direction. Then going up School Street, I think the high point is up by Sunset Lane or close to that, or the big house on the left when you make that little corner. So it's a significant watershed just to these two little catch basins and going through here. To design it properly, I think it would be a significant area to design some type of catchment before discharge to them. And my client doesn't feel it's his problem to fix the environmental aspects of this, but he's recognized that it's possible he's the one that damaged the pipe and he's fixing the pipe. But without the benefit of an easement,
There's nowhere else to drain it, off property?
Pardon me?
There's nowhere else to drain off property, on public land, for example, or
Well,
anything like that?
it's discharging now right at the property line to the marsh, which I believe the foundation owns. But it's been there a long time.
Oh, agreed. Yeah,
I mean, looking at the deeds, we went back 150 years, and this used to be 2 parcels, and the common property line between the 2 parcels was a ditch. So what I assume is the ditch was
yeah.
replaced with
It's
a
just
vitrified clay and filled in.
It's an opportunity, and then
It is,
I would hate to just
And
gloss it over.
we talked about that, and, you know, sooner or later, Main Street, this end of Main Street in the old village will be sewered. And quite a few of the sewer projects in town have incorporated stormwater upgrades. So I think that would be the time to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know where the old village is on the list. I think I've said this at a previous meeting, the old village should have been sewered
should have
back in
been-
1971.
Yeah,
and,
it should have been.
And they didn't want their neighborhood disturbed, so, so here we are, 50-something years later. But hopefully, as the town progresses with the expansion of the sewer, they can tackle this. The problem will be, where do you put the water? You know, either taking land for easements, or trying to get some drainage in the road. It's a fairly wide intersection, so there might be an opportunity to put some drainage in the road right at the intersection. But that's a big undertaking as far as engineering and permitting.
Okay, well, I guess we can take some solace that it might be dealt with that way in the future, but it's small solace. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Paul, are you, do you have a recommendation to make about this request?
Yes, I mean, this is an existing situation, you know, so the stormwater management guidelines would be great to utilize, but this thing has been here for, as David said, decades and decades. The DPW searched through all their records, we searched through all ours. Obviously, the town at some point built this drainage system, and it does drain into the wetland, and that's unfortunate. But because it's existing, and we're just replacing the pipe, you know, the stormwater guidelines really don't kick in. David had mentioned on site that, you know, maybe a head wall at the terminus of the pipe where it enters the wetland would be an idea, but that really would just hold back water and allow it to drain through the soil a little bit more slowly. The end of the pipe, it's all Phragmites in there, as far as you can see.
Yeah. They won't care.
So, obviously, you know, fresh water, it's been going on for a long, long time. So, I didn't like it, David didn't like it, the DPW didn't like it, but the bottom line is, we're just trying to fix what was existing, and had it not been destroyed during construction, we wouldn't be talking about it right now. The pipe would continue to drain as it always has, and it's a significant amount of runoff coming from a large area. So my recommendation would be to approve it. The DPW is going to provide the pipe, I think, and we did the best we could with it for the time being.
Okay. So your recommendation is that this is the best solution, given all the various realities of the situation?
Right.
Okay.
You know, other than getting into what David was suggesting, which would be, you know, a really big undertaking, and to redesign that whole stormwater system there, and, you know, bring in the guidelines and do it properly. But yeah, I would say, well, you know, my recommendation is to approve it
All right.
to you guys.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll ask for a motion.
So just for the record, we're approving something that none of us like.
Right. I have a sense, though, that if we looked at all of the discharge points of the catch basin runoff pipes, we would find this is not all that unusual. So
Right.
We might not like any.
we wouldn't like any of them.
Well, on this very happy day,
I know. Find something that's good.
I move that we approve the field change request for 305 Main Street.
Second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
I guess I have to say aye too.
Yeah, we're all going to go, aye. Okay, that's been approved.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, Paul, let's move on to,
Sure.
Something-
Next on the agenda is another field change request, address 608 Stage Harbor Road, Town of Chatham, Department of Natural Resources. The applicant, map 13A, parcel 34-11, the EP SE 103624. This is the new pump station that's being built, and this is a field change request, which includes basically the dewatering to reduce groundwater during construction. Dewatering is necessary in order for the project to be built. Just a quick background on this, and I know the chair is familiar with it. In the NOI, the dewatering was discussed and laid out in detail, but in the order and at the hearing, it really wasn't discussed. So we felt that a field change request would be appropriate, and I believe that the town's engineer who was retained for this project is here. There he is. Okay. So through the chair, if you want to recognize
Yep.
him, I would do that at this point.
all right, thank you, Paul. Yes,
You're
hello.
welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Do you want to
Hi, how
share
you
the
doing?
screen, or do you want us to?
I can share.
Okay.
Let me know if people can see it.
Do you have the, can you get up,
Yep,
pull-
I'm
there you
staying
go, the
out of
plan.
The figure?
Yep. And zoom in on those two, a little bit. Okay.
So, oh, sorry, hold on. So as you may recall from the last couple of meetings that we've had regarding the station, this is basically the intersection of Stage Harbor and Champlain. This is the Harbor Master's garage. Our pumping station is going to be located behind the garage, and the contractor is going to set up a well point dewatering system in this general area, remaining on the town's property. This is just shown graphically. And then they want to, so the well point system is extracting clear water because it's not a sump in the hole. It's actually extraction wells that are driven around the area so that we can locally lower the groundwater table so they can get the wet well in and the foundation in, because we've got really high groundwater, obviously, because we're right next to the ocean and the resource area. So they want to be able to discharge in these two locations basically the extracted water through their filter bags and the riprap and the swale. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think, Paul, you actually met out with the contractor as well to discuss these actual locations as part of the site review and review of the erosion control.
That's correct. Yeah, we got into some detail on exact location and the details on how it is going to take place, which I didn't have an issue with. I mean, it's standard dewatering. It has to be done before they can commence with the construction. It's a timely process, but we're basically just putting, salt water back into salt water here. So, and I believe there's a sock at the end, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah, you might want to get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't have the I don't have the detail with me on their submittal. I don't know if we needed to, I could probably dig that out.
I think you can just describe it, maybe, see if that is sufficient. I mean, we all know, we all can visualize what a sock at the end of a discharge conveyance
So
looks like.
it's a fine mesh, basically silt retainage system. So the piping comes out and then it discharges into essentially like a bag over the end of the discharge of the pipe. And it's intended to catch fines, fine material. But because this is also coming from a well extraction point, the fine should be very minimal because it's not being disturbed. It's not as if you had a pump sitting in the bottom of a sort of murky bottom of an excavation. It's actually like a well, as if you were pulling water for your house. I mean, it's the same technology. It's just a lot more of them, non-permanent for a shorter duration, just so they can lower the groundwater. That's the advantage of it. It's a cleaner system. So that's the sock, and then it would sit on riprap because there is going to be the volume of water, and then it would also have it be discharging, and that water would be going towards the erosion control straw wattle to again catch any other fines. So the idea is that it discharges onto the riprap, so it doesn't generate other scour, other sedimentation, and then it goes through the straw wattle area, so that if there is anything that comes from just the volume of water, that's trying to get captured as if it was stormwater flow.
Okay. Thank you. Can you estimate, do you know offhand what we're talking about in terms of the volume of water coming through that discharge point?
I don't have that. They had a dewatering subcontractor come up with that, do an estimate as part of their submittal.
Mm-hmm.
I could.
But where I'm going with that is, so the riprap will be engineered to accommodate whatever that volume that's coming through that discharge point, so that it doesn't cause any erosion problem.
Correct. Sure. They'll make a wide enough fan, and part of the conditions that they discussed with Paul in the field was, as they get it set up, they got to take pictures of it before they start discharging. As they discharge, they're going to take pictures so he can see the quality of the water and also how it's discharging over that riprap area at the same time, so that he would have documentation, and then if there needs to be adjustments or modifications between our project representatives observing the work and that the contractor obviously is responsible for managing the dewatering, and then conservation, any comments that come from observation during construction.
Okay. And I take it, so all of this, and by that I mean the pumping, the conveyance material, the riprap, all of that is temporary, only in place for the course of the dewatering. How long do you reckon that's going to run?
So they indicated that they needed to run the dewatering for 2 weeks prior to the construction, and then the construction to get out of the ground was going to take them probably another month and a half, maybe 2 months. So it's like let's say a 3-month period of time they're trying to do this spring.
This spring?
Being conservative.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And then everything is removed, and Paul gets to inspect at that point and make sure that he's satisfied that everything's been restored to its pre-existing. Okay.
Correct. What they're trying to do is get out of the ground as fast as they can. Then they'll pull all the dewatering equipment and they may clean up the riprap at the end of the project as they pull out all the other erosion control. So if that isn't a concern, they may leave that just while they're doing, because they're going to be disturbing the whole site, and then they'll have to clean it up and it would be removed at the end of the project, but the dewatering system would be out of the way as soon as they get out of the ground with their foundation and their wet well.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
That was my question.
My only question was going to be some sort of ongoing monitoring of the effect on the wetland. I guess, Paul, you'll see the photos, I guess, during the project and.
Right, they're going to be submitted on a weekly basis.
Okay. How will the water get from the well point, which I still don't, from that to the wetland? Is it pipes, just on the surface pipes?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so, imagine a box with a whole bunch of little straws sticking down into the ground, and they collect into a manifold, so a common pipe, and then that one pipe goes basically across their driveway area, and it'll then daylight at the riprap. So it's not it doesn't go very far, but it's on the ground.
Okay. So, Paul, you mentioned that in the original NOI, there was, in the submission, there was information about dewatering, but this is different, I guess, than what was?
Nope.
Well, through the chair, actually, Janet discovered it. It was buried. It was a fairly large.
It was a 120-some page submission, and, I found a section on dewatering that described pumping it and conveying it and using a sock to filter anything so it was described in there, but it's not something that we focused on or talked about at the hearing, so we thought.
Well, we in effect approved it.
Well, we incorporated it by reference, arguably. But I thought, we just thought it would be a better idea to have everybody's attention focused on it, so we understood exactly what's going on. But yeah, you could say you could argue that we had already approved it.
Okay. That's it.
Any other questions? Karen or Mary, anything? All right, I guess we're ready for a motion to approve this field change request.
I move that we approve the field change request for 608 Stage Harbor Road.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That's been approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Paul, ready for the next one?
Next item is the last field change request. It's 230 Stage Island Road, Deborah C.
Oh, wait, hold on, okay, never mind. This is for this. Go ahead. Angela Tanner is getting ready to present it.
Okay.
Go ahead, finish reading it, please. Sorry.
Sure. I forgot where I was.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. 230 Stage Island Road, Deborah C. and Peter W. Nelson, map 13A1, parcel 5-D27, DEP number SE103559. Proposed additions and land management plan. The field change includes replacement plantings for vegetation damaged during construction and changes to the plantings at the front of the dwelling. That's the project.
All right, thank you. And we have Angela Tanner here from Crawford. Do you want to share your screen, Angela, or should you will? Okay.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Let's share. Okay. Can you see the planting plan?
Yes, maybe if you, and the very detailed tables next to it, so it makes it harder to see the plan. If you want to zero in, center the plan and, perfect, there you go.
Okay, so I am Angela Tanner. I'm here from Crawford Land Management representing the homeowners. And this project was part of a previous NOI to renovate the house. There's an addition. And in the process of some of that renovation, these front beds were basically in various levels of destruction just in order to get to the house. And so they already knew that they were going to need to replace some of those plants. But in the process, they also thought that it would be a good time. There's the beds that are around these retaining walls right now, which are filled mostly with ornamental non-native plantings. And they thought that it would be a good opportunity to introduce some more pollinator-friendly species. They really love the idea of having birds and butterflies and things like that instead of the more kind of, it's mostly just an evergreen ornamental landscape right now. So what we did was we came up with a plan for this front foundation, the areas around the walls. Some of them are very slightly reconfigured, but all of these areas are already existing planting areas and lawn areas. The only exception, this small little area over here is over, it's existing lawn area that surrounds a path that goes down to the street. This on the side here is the mitigation plantings that were proposed as part of the house addition. So those are all remaining the same. But what we wanted to do was offer a plan of record for the updated plantings and the additional modifications to the existing planting areas. And the complicated plant list is basically, we have listed everything with, knowing that we'd like to get this plan approved as soon as possible, and that sometimes it's very difficult to get plants as specified. This alternate options category is just things that we would like to have on hand as substitutes in case we can't get the other things. Everything that's highlighted is a plant that is not native, but not invasive. So there is a mix of natives and then other pollinator-friendly plants that are more garden-like. But we have also stipulated that basically the native plantings won't exceed 25% based on these numbers. So giving the homeowner some flexibility in finalizing.
I think you meant to say that the non-natives won't exceed 25%.
Yeah, that is what I meant to say.
Okay, we heard that and said, that sounds opposite. Just to clarify on your plan, so the two green lines represent the 50 and 100-foot setback from the wetland. The top line is the 50-foot. There is nothing that's being proposed for that. We've already, I believe, reviewed and approved plants for the no disturb zone.
The only exception is that when the homeowner went to slightly modify the deck configuration, I believe the agent requested that this area around the air conditioning units and the generator be planted with something.
Mm-hmm.
So we have added that to this plan, these native ground cover
So that's
options.
all native ground cover, okay.
So that's what we don't want anything tall because of the intakes and outtakes of these things. So that's what we're proposing to do there.
Okay. And again, just to underscore, none of this impacts the mitigation that was proposed and approved that's already set to go. This is just the landscaping that was not, had not been planned at the time that we issued
Yes,
the
that's
order.
correct.
Okay.
This was the mitigation planting that was already approved.
Okay.
And this is all just supplemental to that.
And I didn't mean to say anything snarky about your detailed list. On the contrary, it's the way that you've color coded it and organized it. It made it a breeze to go through. Probably too much so for me, so I'll let others dig into it more. But it's a great way of having presented it, and the color coding makes the plan very easy. So let me open it up to questions on this. Okay, Elise. Carol.
I love the color-coded plan. So easy, I agree.
It is.
But otherwise, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Mary or Karen?
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay. Okay, Bob.
All right, I'm going to be the stickler here. All right. So a lot of the plants that you're proposing, and first of all, the plan has two green lines. One presumably is 100 foot, one is presumably the 50 foot, but I do not believe they're labeled as such.
Yes, we can resubmit a plan with those labeled if.
That happens all the time. For some
the
reason,
record.
when they get
Yeah.
printed to PDF or whatever, it seems to crop the outside edges and,
It could be a scale issue too. The text just doesn't read.
yeah, so that would be helpful. Then, I do love your table, but unfortunately, it gives me room to roam. And that is because you're outing a bunch of them as, quote, Eastern U.S. native cultivars. Some people refer to those as nativars. But essentially, they are not straight natives. They are crosses between, and correct me if you have a different definition, of straight natives and non-natives.
I would say they are, I wouldn't say that they're crosses because that would be like something that a native species crossed with a non-native species. A cultivar is a naturally occurring difference in the species that is then cultivated in order to, because it has desirable properties. And so this occurs in nature all the time, but these are just the cultivars that are often available in the plant industry. They have different names for them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, it does. I would tweak your definition a little bit in that, yes, they're formulated to have desirable characteristics from the homeowner's perspective. In other words, larger blossoms, glossier leaves, and so forth.
Right.
But not necessarily for the benefit of insects and wildlife who use them as a food source. And what I
Not
would,
always.
yeah, what I read, and you can correct me, is that in many cases, even though there's not a lot of research on this because no one wants to pay for this kind of research, but the research, some of the research that has been done has demonstrated that those insects and wildlife they don't get as much food value out of what I will still refer to as nativars. So to call them natives from the perspective of the wildlife that is using them as a food source, they're not as good.
I wouldn't agree with that as a blanket statement. I think there have been some studies on some different types of plants. Mount Cuba is one such institution that does that, and they've found a variety of different results based on the different cultivars. So I would hesitate to use a blanket statement, but I think the purpose in what we were presenting is that these are ornamental garden beds. They're not part of the restoration planting. And so usually when we're trying to create a garden space for clients, we try to incorporate natives as much as possible while recognizing that sometimes it's just very difficult to use the straight native species in those settings. So we try to be very clear on this list, which ones are cultivars and which ones are not, so that you have that information. If you were to say we can't use cultivars, then we would need to modify our plan. But we thought that because these are foundation plantings in areas around the driveway, they're not part of the restoration plantings, so that there should potentially be some more flexibility in which species are used and how they're used.
I disagree with the fact that there should be some flexibility. This is the outer R. We do have requirements for 75% natives in the outer R. And we also receive increasingly, let's say over the last year, plans for NDZ and outer R that are 100% straight native. And I was happy to see it, and we are seeing it more and more. And so I infer from that it is possible to get those plants for the outer R. So I think I had an assumption earlier on that because it was so difficult to get them, that we needed to show some flexibility. I'm less inclined to think there is such a need. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't disagree. We can source native plants. I think what my hope was that this is an existing, mostly non-native landscape that the homeowner is hoping to improve. And I find in working with homeowners, it's sometimes easier to incorporate native plants if we can do it in a way that appeals to them. So that was my ultimate goal. If you would prefer that we consider the cultivars as part of the 25%, we can modify this list so that we use fewer of those. But I just personally am happy if I can get clients to use native plants in any shape that I can get them to use them.
I'm sure. And I appreciate the position that you're in. However, this is the year 2024. Our environment is in a bit of a bad state, and we need to be doing what we can do to support our natural world. And an easy way to do it, really, is to use native plants wherever possible. And we do have the requirement for them. So my vote is to, yes, consider the cultivars, nativars, whatever, as being part of the 25%.
Yep.
Even when we're replacing a non-native landscape with, so I'm just wondering to what extent that applies to this situation.
Can I jump in here a second?
Sure.
It doesn't really. The process is not all that relevant. Our regulations that we adopted last summer now call for 75% straight native plants in the 50 to 100 outer aura. So, I understand, especially from the homeowner perspective, that this is a transition we're all going through, moving from non-native landscape plants into a much healthier, smarter, better landscaping. So we didn't say 100%. That's true in the no disturb zone, but it's 75 in the outer aura. So your challenge is to find plants that they like that fit into that ratio. And as Bob just said, we're finding more and more landscapers coming in and saying that their clients have found wonderful plants that they're really happy with that are straight natives. So it is possible, it's out there, so we're getting there.
Thank you, Janet. Yeah, just to add on, this is the time when companies like yours can try to educate their clients. You can get straight native plants that have blossoms that look good. Maybe the blossoms aren't quite as showy, but they're still pretty nice, and then they can enjoy all the insects and wildlife that come flocking to them. So it's time to change our attitude. Is basically the bottom line here. So thank you.
So with that, do you want to, the next we could continue this and have you have another go at it and talking to your client? Our next scheduled hearing date is February 7th.
Okay. So we can modify the list to have the native cultivars included as the non-native 25%.
Correct.
And
Yep.
submit.
Yep.
Okay.
You may have to lose a hydrangea or two to make all that work, but that's your challenge.
There are native hydrangeas.
And there are native hydrangeas. Who knew?
Yeah.
All right, so let's have a motion then to continue this to February the 7th.
I move that we continue 230 Stage Island Road to the hearing on February 7th, 2024.
Second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Lise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so we'll see you back here on February 7th. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Paul, moving on.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Next, we'll move on to requests for determination of applicability. The first one on the list is 135 Lime Hill Road, James A. Doyle and Elizabeth Marsh, I can't read this, Marsh Doyle, map 21E, parcel 18-1, R2315. Proposed addition to an existing dwelling is the project.
Good afternoon. Never trust a trial attorney to figure out a future agenda.
Okay, that never
So
works.
It's been delayed, so I'm
course it
here today.
has.
Sam Stribert is here. Cindy Penny came in to get some experience in here. What we have a bordering vegetated wetland on the north side of Lime Hill Road. The Lime Hill Road takes up most of the 0 to 50. The property is developed with paved driveway, stone walls, and then we hit the 100 and then the existing house. The proposal is to put an addition coming off of the house that'll be replacing paved driveway and stone wall, and that will just go into the 100-foot. We looked at this and said, well, there's really no mitigation required because we're going from impervious to impervious, and it doesn't seem to warrant the need for a notice of intent, so we've gone in under a request for determination. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So you're replacing asphalt paved impermeable surface with structure,
Yes,
a foundation?
yes.
So it's,
So there'll be a temporary disturbance when they take out the asphalt and the stone wall. They'll put in the foundation, then they'll patch everything back up again.
and on the site plan, it refers to a stoop and a rear addition. Are those also part of this?
They certainly are, but they're outside the jurisdiction.
Ah, yes, they are, okay. And this backs right up into the 100-foot line.
Yes,
Where
I
the
mean, the
driveway
house is,
Okay,
what is the house, 101 away, and, yes, the house is 101 away, and the addition will be 94 feet away. And again, we have a wetland with a road, and then
Yep.
the rest of the property in between.
got it. Okay. Anyone have questions?
I kind of just shrugged my shoulders when I drove by. I'm like, I don't,
Structure, hardscape, I don't know.
just couldn't get too wild about it, so yeah.
Driveway.
It's a driveway. It's all paved there anyway, across the street's all paved. I don't know, so I don't have any problem with it.
Over here?
You got it.
Elise? No? You go.
No, I have a problem with it, except that as long as the road is in the NDZ, what are you going to do?
Right.
It's a tough one, and we run into these all the time. And,
Yeah.
Yep. Mary, do you have a question?
I agree with Cheryl. I don't know what else you're gonna do. So
Yeah.
there's a road
And a driveway.
and a driveway.
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
Okay. Karen, do you have any issues or questions?
I absolutely agree with everything everybody has said. It doesn't seem there's any options, so, it's already got the road and the driveway, so
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, so Paul, is this would this be a -3, because it's in the buffer zone?
Yes.
All right, then we have a motion for a negative determination 3.
I move that we approve a -3 determination for 135 Lime Hill Road.
Second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. That's it.
See, there had to be an easy one today.
See, we got one, that was easy. All right, thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you for coming. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for playing. Oh, God. Okay, Paul, moving on.
Moving on, Madam Chair, next on the agenda is a request for determination of applicability. Address 500 Shore Road, Stephen and Stacy Barton, map 16G, parcel 3D, A-5, R-24-1. Project is installation of a hot tub.
Good
Hello.
afternoon. My name's Laura McDonald. I'm with Cape and Islands Engineering. I'm representing the applicant.
Okay.
So this particular project is
Are you going to share, do you want to share your screen to show anything, or do you want us to do that? We can.
Could you please?
Sure.
Yes.
You got it, Bob's got it. One of them's a plan.
Sure. That's fine. So the property is at 500 Shore Road. It's a developed parcel with a single-family home, a pool, a decking, paved driveway, and other appurtenances. The applicant would like to install a hot tub within the limits of the existing decking adjacent to the existing pool. The hot tub would be poured in place All work would be completed by hand with hand tools, mixing concrete on site immediately adjacent to the proposed hot tub location. Prior to the start of work, sedimentation controls would be installed to avoid any impacts to resource areas. As mentioned, all work is included within previously disturbed areas within 50 feet of coastal bank. I can get into some more detail about the hot tub construction process. So basically, the wood decking in the immediate area would be removed, and approximately 18 inches of dirt equal to a cubic yard of area would be hand excavated from within the limits of the hot tub area. An 8-inch concrete footing would be poured, and then the hot tub would be formed with lumber and hand-mixed concrete to cast into the form. The concrete would be reinforced with number 3 steel rebars at 12 inches on center. All the excavation for the project will be done by hand, as mentioned, and due to the minimal site access. And hot tub will share the existing pool mechanicals with minor modifications being needed, and all access is through the existing driveway.
Okay, that's it, thank you. What do I have? Nothing. Questions? It's in the non-disturb zone.
It's in the no disturb zone, right. So I assume that the pool and this deck that goes around it were originally licensed?
Yes, they were approved on an original order of conditions, which a certificate of compliance was issued recently.
Yeah.
It's my understanding.
Oh, recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have been included.
I should remember this, okay. Wow, all right. We approved it,
Yep.
Yes.
like us, those of us who are sitting up here, okay.
Not the original order, we approved the certificate. and
The
we
certificate,
approved
not the original
approved
order.
a shoreline project down at the bottom.
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, that's my only question.
Yeah. Somebody else approved a pool and deck and et cetera in the NDZ, right? Yeah.
But it wasn't us.
Nope. Mary or Karen? Questions, comments?
While I'm never excited about all of this going into an NDZ, it looks to me like it is going in where there was previous patio, and I just want to make sure it's not any larger than what's already been disturbed.
That is correct. The proposed hot tub will be installed within the limits of the existing decking.
Okay.
So the decking
That
is
was my
raised, right? So
Yes.
you'll cut a hole in the decking, dig down 18 inches, and then form the hot tub so that the top of the hot tub is level with the decking,
Correct.
essentially. Okay.
Correct. And the hot tub will be pitched in such a manner that the water from the hot tub will splash over into the pool, so there's no danger of splash out beyond the existing footprint.
Okay, that was my concern.
Yep. Okay.
How will it be drained?
I'm assuming the same way the pool is drained.
Which is?
I don't have that information.
Drained, you mean as in when the water's removed?
Yeah, assuming it's drained seasonally?
I am not sure.
Just trying to make sure it doesn't get drained in that beautiful wetland right down
Oh,
there.
I would.
We normally, in orders of conditions for the last number of years with swimming pools, we require that water be removed and trucked off-site and disposed of properly off-site. I think we can add that to this.
Okay.
We'll add that.
Can we do that?
I would have to check with the client. I'm not sure what the process is at this point.
Well, surely, as you said, they won't be draining it into the wetlands, so.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
So it'd be
The
okay.
option is to truck it, is to
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah, currently, the pool is empty.
It is
So
empty.
they
Okay.
must
Yeah.
empty it, I would assume
Somewhere, somehow.
They don't just keep flushing.
Anyway, we'll add that in there, just to be sure. All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments, input? Paul, so this is in the NDZ, so what kind of a negative determination is this? Two?
Well, why don't you just issue a negative, and
Okay.
we'll check off the appropriate box.
Okay,
Um,
and then
I'm
you'll
not sure
add
there's
in
any-
there that the requirement that no water is discharged down the bank.
Yes,
Okay.
and I don't know, I don't think there's a distinction on the NDZ for the negatives, because those are.
It's a
DEP
resource
forms.
area, right,
Yeah, right.
okay. All right, we'll just let him pick the right box and take a motion for a negative determination.
Got it. I move that we approve a negative determination for 500 Shore Road.
Second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That's been, that'll be approved. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
afternoon.
Thank you. You too. All right, Paul?
Okay, next on
item.
the agenda is the matter that was continued. I'll just read it again. 127 Christopher Harding Lane, Rolf Nixon, map 12D, parcel 3-L6, DEP number SE103661, redevelopment of the site. They have asked for a continuance to February 28th.
Oh.
And they've withdrawn their application with the ZBA.
Yep, that's right. Okay. Motion then to approve the request for a continuance.
I move that we approve the request for a continuance for 127 Christopher Harding Lane to February 28th, 2024.
Second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Karen? Karen?
Oops, sorry, aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That's continued. All right, Paul, what's next?
Next is 33 Whistler Lane, Charles and Marie K. Cohen, map 16I, parcel 30A-10A, P number SE103659, redevelopment of the site.
Good afternoon. For the record, Thad Aldridge, East Southeast. I'm here with Teresa Sprague. My part's pretty easy. They took out the fence you didn't like. And now I can hand it over to Teresa. And she has to get her, I have a copy of it.
I have a question about the fence.
Oh, sure.
So what about the temporary
That will be
fence?
removed.
And that's going to be, well, what about the dogs?
The dogs will have to be trained.
Ah, okay.
It's not a terribly busy road.
Yeah, no, well, except in July.
I think that they were going to attempt invisible fencing to try
Okay.
and, yes.
What a great idea. You would think that was a brand-new thing, but nobody around here.
They actually have them rigged up to GPS now.
Yeah,
So you can get a GPS collar, and then the dogs are
Right.
geo-fenced, and then you can set
Yep.
that elsewhere if you go elsewhere.
and the beauty of it is, once they're completely trained on that, they never know whether, and people have taken them down, but the dog will not cross that line, so.
Except my
I have a
neighbors.
hound dog who has disproven that theory.
Oh, really? Never mind. I have a hound dog too, and I was advised not to do this because they said that chasing a rabbit, it'll go through that, it'll get zapped and say, totally worth it, keep going.
Some hound dogs will do that.
Yeah, yep,
My
yep.
neighbors used to have a husky who would jump the fence just to play with the coyotes.
There you
so,
go. Okay, Teresa.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design here on behalf of the Goheens. Basically, they had just asked me after the last hearing to work with them to put together a planting plan to submit to you. Thad is fantastic at what he does, but apparently there were some questions about some of the plants, no offense, Thad. And so we took a look at it and we did make some minor modifications to the planting plan in the mitigation planting area on the southern property line. So we did change some of the recommended species out. We've added in winterberry holly. We did continue to propose the sweet fern that Thad had proposed previously, switchgrass, winterberry holly, and Carolina rose, which I think was also previously proposed, along with meadowsweet, Spirea alba. So I think that I understand that there's an easement over this that doesn't allow for vegetation that's going to grow greater than 3 feet in height. So what we're proposing here generally satisfies those easement requirements, and I think suits the vegetation that it's directly abutting to the south a little bit better. And so that's the one change in that area. And then around the foundation beds, we've just reorganized the planting. We are proposing within the 100-foot buffer zone, one non-native species, which is a climbing hydrangea. There's a trellis system on the southeastern portion of the planting bed that we are proposing for climbing hydrangea for that. Otherwise, all of the vegetation within the foundation plantings will be native, and that includes Fothergilla, inkberry holly, sweet fern, and marginal shield fern. In addition to that, along the edge of the driveway, within the buffer zone where there was some border privet, I believe, we're proposing a viburnum hedge that's on the northern property line within the 100-foot buffer. There is some minor invasive vegetation located throughout the site, which we would propose to selectively treat, so cut and treat, and that includes some bittersweet, some vine and shrub honeysuckle, and some border privet. That's within jurisdictional areas, but they're surrounded by other native vegetation, so we'd simply selectively remove what's invasive and allow the native vegetation to remain and infill in those areas. So I'm happy to answer any questions about what we're proposing. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Questions? Any questions? Cheryl?
No.
Karen or Mary, questions for Teresa on the planting?
No.
No.
Okey doke, thanks. Elise?
I like it.
Well, I have a quick question. How is this, what have you changed from what we looked at last time? I haven't compared the two plans in terms of, I thought there were
We used,
trees.
Thad had proposed inkberry, which we're also proposing. I think we've beefed up and filled the planting in a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then I think we added the Ilex verticillata and the Spirea alba, the meadowsweet, and the winterberry holly to the southern property edge.
Yep.
There was a little bit of area of meadow that I think was on the previously proposed plan, but we're just going to do shrubs straight across.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
But the area, the total mitigation area
It has
hasn't
not
changed.
changed,
So
no.
this is just a change of the
It's just a change.
specifications within it?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Bob?
Yeah, no slight on that, but I think it looks better, so. Just tell me again what you're going to do about the privet.
So there's some privet located outside of jurisdictional area, and we're
Okay.
working with the clients to see if they'll consider removing that and planting the arrowwood viburnum. But the privet within jurisdictional area will be removed, and the arrowwood viburnum will be planted for that hedge for screening in its place.
And that's the privet that's on the north side of
On
the...
the north side, yep, exactly.
the south side of the easement. You're not allowed to do that.
Correct, the south side of the easement, yes, on the northern property line.
Okay,
Yep.
yep, I thought that was,
Yep.
I had from before, okay. All right, then, any other questions? Anybody on the platform with a question or a comment on this plan? Seeing nobody, I think we're ready then to schedule this for an order of conditions, February 7th. All right,
I move that we schedule 33 Whistler Lane for an order of conditions at our meeting on February 7th, 2024.
Second?
roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you very much, I
Thank you.
appreciate it, and we'll see you back here on February 7th. Is this your house?
Yes.
Oh, good job. All right, Paul, let's move on.
Next on the agenda is 23 Wilkie Way, William Riley, map 17D, parcel 9, F10. We finally have a DEP SE number. It's SE 103666, removal of invasive plants, new planting, new gravel infiltration strips at the residence and garage, new bark mulch path, expanded brush shell driveway, new walkway and steps, and new fencing is the project.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me? You can't hear me.
Hello.
Peter.
Hi.
Oh, okay, Scott, you're there. Okay, gotcha.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. So the last meeting we had a plan brought before you that had some drafting errors on it. We corrected those and have I think addressed what was requested from the commission.
I think you need to turn your sound down. You're getting a reverb there.
Okay.
Oh, never mind. Somebody behind you. Never mind. Okay, I think Elise is right. Go ahead. Don't mute because we won't hear you.
Okay, great. So hopefully, we believe we've achieved what you would ask us to achieve with regards to the 2-to-1 within the 50-foot, and then the 1-to-1 in the 50 to 100 foot for the mitigation areas. Yeah, I guess we'd look for your comment on that.
Okay, thank you so much for redoing this. It seems responsive to everything we had talked about. I take it that the new coverage chart that is on the plan has the final both coverage and mitigation area figures?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. We added a column for required mitigation and then proposed mitigation, just to clear that up.
Okay, yep, so that you've exceeded that slightly, and that's always a good thing. I think we had talked about, so because you guys, I think, we haven't had experience working with each other before, obviously, because we've had a lot of back and forth. But when we issue the order of conditions, I just want to let you know that we'll be, because this area borders existing invasive vegetation, there will be a requirement in the order of conditions that invasive vegetation in the mitigation area has to be monitored and managed permanently. I don't see a mow strip on here. I think we've talked about whether a mow strip was needed. You might want to put in some kind of a mow strip on the property line there so that you can access this mitigation area 2 or 3 times a season to check it to make sure that invasive vegetation isn't making its way in there. Otherwise, it can be tough to do that, to access it. As you may have heard if you were online earlier, I noticed that there's a lot of walkways that are proposed here. If you are proposing any kind of exterior lighting for those walkways, we are moving into specifying the kinds of exterior lighting, that it's down lit, that it doesn't exceed a certain lumens figure. We may put that in, it may not, this is still new to us to be starting to specify about lighting, but as you are getting close to a naturalized area, we won't allow any lighting to protrude into that mitigation area or the bordering wetland area. That might be enough for this one. And because the mitigation area will be bordering a lawn, we'll be also requiring in the order a demarcation of some sort. We leave that to the homeowner, but it could be a low single split rail fence of 18 inches or so. It could be a line of stones or boulders or whatever, just so that landscapers don't stray into the mitigation area and start mowing that. Something that clearly demarks it. That's all I have.
I hate to do this.
Um,
I'm going to share a couple of docs here because I'm still confused about the coverage. Just bear with me. So this is the document from January 8th, where it says we're adding we're adding 1,000 square feet in the NDZ of coverage. If we go look at the plan from the 16th, which I'll show, says we're adding 410. So I just don't understand how that much coverage disappeared.
Yeah, no coverage disappeared. It was a drafting error on the previous.
It was wrong before. This is correct.
Plan.
Okay, all right.
That's right. This
And
is correct.
that makes all the sense in the world, because that last set of figures were way out of alignment with what the plan had been submitted before, which was much more like this. And so they were clearly, there was something wrong with those figures.
Okay, we knew there was something wrong. I just didn't know what was wrong. Okay, so, all right, good. I'm glad to see it, because we've been dealing with this for a long time, and maybe we're coming to the end of it.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
all right. Elise, anything? Karen or Mary, anything?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Neither do I.
All
I
right.
think we're coming to the end.
We are ready, finally, to schedule this for an order of conditions on, at our next hearing, which is February 7th.
I move that we move 23 Wilkie Way into the next hearing on February 7th, 2024 for an order of conditions.
Second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Lise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
I vote aye, and we will see you one last time on February 7th to review and approve the order of conditions for this. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, Paul?
All right, next on the agenda is 44 Scattery Road.
46.
Carolyn McDonald, trustee, map 16I, parcel 20A-9, DEP number SE103655.
There's nothing.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. We're shaking our
Okay,
heads.
sorry.
46
Proposed
Scattery.
work- Yep, sorry.
Okay,
The
sorry.
proposed work consists of replacement of a single-family dwelling with a new single-family dwelling.
All right, we last heard this December, whatever it was. I don't even have it here. It's been a while. It's been just, yeah. No, we didn't hear it in January. We may have. So we were waiting. We had reached agreement on everything except the driveway material, which I think you're here to report on. And we were waiting for an indication that a filing had been made with ZBA.
Correct. Yes. Teresa Sprague here on behalf of Carolyn McDonald. I'm not sure if anybody is joining us, if David Little is here, but I'm here to report that we did meet with the property owner who was out of the country for a while. She has decided she would like to go with permeable pavers on the sloped section of the driveway. The flat areas of the driveway will still be the same materials that were proposed previously. The question was whether we were going to use ACB with pea stone or shell or permeable pavers on the slope, and she prefers the permeable pavers. Bill Riley is not here, but I can report that I dropped off all of the copies of the plans for the ZBA filing to his office. So I'm assuming that filing is going to be happening, but I'm guessing, just from my conference with David Clark, that it's about 6 to 8 weeks before we will be in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals based on their current schedule.
Do you have any sense of why they've held off so long? This has been in front of us since November.
I'm sorry, I don't know that.
Okay.
I apologize.
We can begin drafting an order of conditions, and I think we should before we completely forget the
Okay.
details of this.
Yes.
But we can't issue it until everything
Yes.
has been filed. So let me just clarify. So it's permeable paver blocks on the sloped
slope,
area.
yes.
And the articulated blocks with grass or pea stone? What is
No,
it?
there will be, no, we're using the permeable pavers instead of the ACB, the articulated concrete block. So those were the two options that
Oh,
we were
okay.
putting before you, and only on the sloped areas. So the level areas will be gravel.
Oh, gravel, okay. And
Correct.
the plans will have that indicated on it?
Yes, the plans have that, the plan does have that indicated.
Okay, so we'll have that to draft the order. Any other questions about clarifications before? All right, 6 to 8 weeks. Takes me a minute to pull up my calendar. I mean, we can put it out to February 28th. That's 6 weeks.
I think
For a
that's
check-in,
reasonable.
see where we
Yes.
are.
Yep,
We will have the
absolutely.
draft ready, but we'll hold it until we've got a confirmation that it's moving forward.
Perfect, thank you.
All right,
I
so we'll
appreciate
take
it.
a motion then to continue 46 Scattery to February 28th.
I move that we continue 46 Scattery Road to February 28th, 24 for a draft order of conditions.
Second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Thank you.
We'll check in on the 28th and see where everything is.
Will do,
Hopefully
thank
we'll have
you.
it ready to issue an order. All right, thank you, thank you. All right, Paul, we are ready to move. Nope, Paul?
Hello.
Yes,
Yep, there.
we're here.
Next on the agenda is a continued matter, but I'll read the legal notice. 240 and 438 George Ryder Road and 1652 Main Street, Chatham Municipal Airport is the applicant. Map 9F 240 10G 438 SE 1652 Main Street, parcels 0-2 to 40, 18-K1 438, 53-27, 1652 Main Street, DEP number SE10 3658. The proposed project includes vegetation management required to remove obstructions within navigable airspace in compliance with the Federal Aviation Administration FAA regulations. The applicants have requested a continuance to February 7th in order for the commission to have time to conduct a field visit, site visit.
Okay, I guess that's the reason, okay.
I move that we continue 240 and 438 George Ryder Road and 1652 Main Street to the hearing on February 7th, 2024.
Second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. We will take that up on February 7th, which is great because I won't be here. Suits me. Yeah, you might think I had something to do with it. All right, Paul, we're ready to go to the certificates of compliance.
Okay, first on the list is 414 Fox Hill Road, Christopher and Kathleen LaCroix, map 11M, parcel 2, SE10 2734, demolition of existing structure and rebuilding new dwelling, rent station, and associated site improvements. My understanding is that this was the certificate that was needed, and all that was missing was an as-built plan, which has been filed. I've looked at it, so we can close this certificate out.
All right, good to hear that. All right, go ahead.
I move that we close the certificate of compliance for 414 Fox Hill Road.
Second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Great. That one's issued.
Okay.
All right, next one.
Next one, 117 Stephen Drive, Stephen and Michael King, Asset Trust, map 7D, parcel 7, DEP number SE10 3368, construction of an agricultural barn. All right,
David Clark
Da-
has approached the podium.
yes, okay, well, David can,
David Clark on behalf of the Kings. So this was a agricultural barn. Technically, it's exempt from wetlands review, but we filed a notice of intent anyways. Project's done. The restoration plantings are in, and so we're requesting a certificate.
Okay, thank you. Paul, what's your recommendation on this?
Well, I can attest David did a fine job with everything, and the checklist is complete, all the requirements, pictures, as-built plan, written, ongoing conditions have been filed. So I would recommend issuing a full certificate and closing this out.
Okay.
I move that we issue a full certificate of compliance for 117 Stephen Drive.
Second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Thank you.
That's issued. Last one, Paul.
Okay, just a quick question. Do you have 32 Little Beach Road?
Yep.
Yeah, you do have that. See, I have it crossed out on mine, but this is a certificate of compliance. All that was involved was a septic system. I looked at the file. Basically, the septic was installed. So this is an easy one. Underground septic installed, complete. So we should issue a certificate of compliance for this, a full certificate.
Okay, so this was from 2006, so it's been,
Yeah,
okay.
an oldie.
I move that we issue a certificate of compliance for 32 Little Beach Road.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That one's issued. All right, that brings us to the last bit.
Next.
We have minutes.
Next one. Yeah,
Yep.
last one is 3 Oyster Drive. 3 Oyster
Oh.
Drive LLC.
3 Oyster
hello.
Drive.
Yeah.
It's
The
not
work was
on,
never done.
it's
Okay,
not
so
on my town.
it's not on my town? It's on the agenda that I'm holding.
It's not
so-
on my agenda that I'm holding.
All right, so,
I know,
okay.
it's somewhere, because I know I looked at it this morning. Which
We got
agenda
our
is that?
packet for today.
Oh,
We got our packet, but it's not online.
If it's not on my town gov, then we can't, we'll
right,
just
hang
put
on
it
a
off.
second, maybe we'll check it and see.
Yeah.
This is Crystal.
Hi, Crystal, what's, Yeah.
So that one was just a reissue. I went through the file and it had already been issued a certificate. They just needed the original to record it.
Yeah, and the work was
So I
never
had taken
done.
that one off.
say that again? I'm sorry. I'm looking at my town gov, it's
It
not
was already-
listed on my town gov. So is that a problem?
Yeah. It was already issued,
Oh,
a certificate of compliance a few years back. I think it was 2021.
yeah, I mean, I looked at it in the Dropbox, and it's indicating that work was never done, nothing ever, so it was just a,
Yeah, the work was never done.
right.
And it
We
was
ran into this
issued
once
the
before.
certificate in that way.
Yeah. I believe we ran into this once before with Attorney Litchfield, and I think we can go ahead and, if really all it involves is just reissuing the new certificate, work wasn't done. It's not on my town gov is the only problem. So not being on the agenda, I will leave it up to you guys in terms of the open meeting law. So, I mean, it's an easy thing to just put off till the next one. Crystal, is there some urgency to this? Is there a sale pending or anything? Crystal?
I'm not sure. They didn't say.
Okay. So in terms of the open meeting law, not being
I'd
on my
rather
town
wait,
gov,
if it's not
All
urgent,
right.
yeah, because the documents are on my town gov, the request and the checklist, but it's
Yeah.
just not listed on the agenda there.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not urgent, let's just make sure that we're not running up into any problems and hold it for the next one.
Copy that.
Well, it's not listed, so it's not even on our agenda. It doesn't exist, right. All right. We'll take it up at the next one. So there are minutes from November the 8th, December the 6th, and December the 13th. They have all been available in the Dropbox. It looks like members have made corrections throughout. Does anybody have any other corrections? I am accepting all changes, and if there are no further changes, then I'll take a motion to approve all three.
I make a motion to approve and accept the minutes for November 8th, 2023, December 6th, 2023, and December 13th, 2023.
I'm just quickly zipping through everybody's changes, just to be sure.
Oops, I've already,
You already did, they're gone, okay. Well, in that case, I'll say second.
I went through them all, yeah. Roll call vote, Bob.
All right.
Elise.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye, so minutes are done. They've all been accepted. Crystal, I've accepted all the changes, so they're ready for you to issue. And I'll let you know about, I think the AOOC is ready, but I'll send you an email. I'll double check that and make sure. And with that, is there anything unforeseen?
Yeah,
Yes,
just one thing, and that is that I don't know if everybody's chimed in on the site visit.
The doodle poll.
Doodle poll, yeah.
It's gotten more complicated.
Oh.
So we know that Karen is not going to be back until February 2nd. And there is a email from Adrian proposing some new dates. So, Crystal, you were copied on that. If you would, yeah, February 2nd, February 6th, and February 7th. Well, February 7th is the day of the hearing. That's not a great time. So maybe add February 6th to the doodle poll, and that might work because, Karen, are you going to be here on the 2nd, or you come back after the 2nd?
Yes.
Oh, you'll be here on
I
this.
arrive, my flight I just booked the flight. It gets in February 1st at 5 o'clock.
Okay, so you'll land and be really happy to go on an on-site first thing the next day.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
It'll be easier than what I'm
never
doing
do
here.
Fridays.
Oh, that's right, you can't do Fridays.
Are you gonna land at the Chatham Airport?
Yeah, I would.
No, Cheryl works on Fridays, so Fridays are problematic. So let's look at Tuesday, the 6th. Crystal, can you add that to the poll and see if we can make that work somehow?
That's my only free day.
I have a dentist appointment that day. Oh, darn. So let's see if we can make that work. So everybody take a look at the doodle poll and we'll see if we can find a date.
You won't be there on the 7th anyway.
I won't, so I don't care.
Oh, yes.
Actually, I have a plan for, anyway, we'll deal with it. All right, anything else? Then motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote. Bob.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you, everybody. We are adjourned. See you back here on February 7th. You won't see me, but you may hear me. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.